All right, everybody. Welcome to a very unique, different version of LandO's Lock-ins. We're actually doing it from the hotel. I am live from Mystic Lake. I'm going to do my best to try to get this done. I've had a number of different issues, as you can see. Obviously, we weren't able to do it from the home setup, so we're here in the hotel room. I'm going to do this quick. There is not nearly as much research done into these series as I would like, but I made it a thing where I've got to get a video out. I hope this uploads. I hope that you guys do eventually get to see this. But I am fully aware of the fact that anything and everything has got the ability to go wrong. I've only got like 30 minutes to record this, so I'm going to do my best to try to pump this out as quick as possible. Put it in Premiere, export it, and then get it on YouTube as quick as possible so that, I don't know, there's a chance for some eyes to see it. But again, I do apologize. I will be way better when it comes down to doing this in the future. I'm going to be more prepared. I will put it that way when it comes down to the quick travel times and maybe even the setups from the hotel. Who knows? Maybe we could bring a microphone. Maybe we could have some guests. Maybe stuff like that could in fact be a possibility. So let's get into the bracket. First things first, right? Major two predictions. We still have some time to lock these bad boys in. So if you guys have not done so already, make sure to go to pick'em.callofdutyleague.com and get that done. So first things first, we'll start off with Optic Texas versus the Seattle Surge. We've seen this matchup happen a few different times. Just gonna be honest, I'm thinking Optic for this one, no doubt about it. I think that Seattle absolutely have got the ability to show some stuff. I think that a lot of people have liked the way the Surge have played more lately. Feels like, especially players like Sib and Pred have really started to come into their own form, maybe starting to pick up the pace a little bit. So I do hope that this is a better performance, but I feel like maybe with it being the first match for Optic, it could be a little bit of a slower one. I think these maps could be close. I just don't see anybody contesting Optic right now in control. I think their Search Destroy is great. Their opening hard points are great. Seattle thrives a lot off the opening hard point. Don't know if they have that guarantee. Going 3-1 Optic. So let's go and move on. New York Subliners versus the Atlanta FaZe. New York! How do they make it to the winner's bracket? How do they have as high of a seed as they do with the way that they started off Major 2? It's wild. It really is. It's actually crazy to see this team not just in the winners bracket, but in a decently higher seed as well, which is pretty fascinating. However, they do get the unfortunate draw. Facing off against a team like Atlanta FaZe. I do feel, we'll go and say it this way, I do feel that the Paul X streak, because he's currently undefeated right now in the CDL, I think that it does end here versus FaZe. I like the Subliners. I like this team. I feel like they have got some new life, without a doubt, under them, and they're starting to win hard points. It's just that I know that New York is going to want to play a Bocage, I feel like, and that is exactly what Atlanta wants, right? They're going to want to play the fast pace maps. They want to match up with Neptune and Hydra. I think the only positive I feel like that could come is, we talk about vetoes and coin flips and stuff like that. Well, that's not going to happen, right? Because Atlanta is going to have the higher seed. So you're going to have to face this team on Tuscan, which is rather unfortunate. There's no real way around it. So with that being the case, I'm going to go with Atlanta to close this one out, which sets up a very fun winners round two, a rematch, obviously, from the number of different encounters that we've watched previously. And I don't know, I almost hesitate to even give them a map. I think that this could be a 3-0, but I do like the Subliners. I think that this team honestly has the ability to steal a map. I really don't know what it could be. It could be the S&D. I don't know. Again, I just feel like with the maps that we're going to have with a guaranteed Tuscan control, I feel like FaZe is going to come through and beat a very good-looking Subliners team right now. So we'll go ahead and move on. Bottom side of the bracket. London Royal Ravens versus the Florida Mutineers. Again, Florida managed to sneak into the winner's spot, which is interesting. London, not a bad major by any stretch of the imagination. It took them a little while to get in their groove, right, versus having Gizmo out of the lineup to start off Major 2. They get him back in the team. Florida seems like they are getting somewhat dealt with in their last few matches. They start off 2-0 with like a 6-0 map count, and then they had a very bottom-heavy schedule to close things out. So they lose their next three, but they still get a winner's bracket spot because of how dominant those early wins were. I think London had a game. Who was it versus? I'm actually going to look. I'm going to go off script here for a moment. London had a game versus somebody, and it was like a shock that they won. Oh, yeah, Boston Breach. That's right. That was a big game. I had them beating Boston, and I was very happy with my choice in that situation. I feel like London are the real deal, but the big thing is going to be on the rookies for this tournament. At the major one, it was all zero. None of the younger guys were above a one. I think that a lot of that could have the ability because Gizmo was not at his full form, given the fact that he was dealing with all kinds of personal things. So, with that in mind, I do think this is going to be a London victory. I want to say these teams have matched up before and it went five. Could be wrong, but I feel like that has been the case. Florida's a scary team. Can never count these guys out. They're going to want to play the small maps. London, depending, are going to want to play some Gavutu, especially in the control. So that's something to think about. I think this is a 3-1 at best. I just don't see Florida sending this team the distance where I feel like they have all kinds of pieces. London continue to show us that they have got layers. They've got unbelievable talent across the board. And I think the young guys really show up and they have an even better performance in terms of statistics than they did at Major One. Moving on, Boston Breach versus the LA Gorillas. Obviously, Boston, a 4-1 performance throughout the major. Two, excellent performance from them. They obviously lose that last game, as we talked about, to the Ravens, which is unfortunate. But you can't be angry. You cannot be angry if you're a Boston fan. The fact that they go 4-1, without a doubt, one of the higher seeds that we have in the winner's side. That's where they're taking on the LA Gorillas, who are going to be without Gunless, which is a shame. It really is. It's a shame. I feel like LIG could rally, and maybe they have the fire, maybe they have the passion. I just feel like if Boston comes out, wins the opening hard point, they take the S&D. I don't know. I feel like the confidence from the Gorillas could start to be shaken a little bit. Gunless is one of their most, if not their most consistent player. I think Spart's a very, very good player. It's just different, right, to bring in somebody that short of notice. So I'm gonna go with Boston. I think to take this. No real surprises in the first round of matches. I feel like if there was to be one, I don't know, maybe it's Seattle, but I don't even think that's really a legit possibility at this point, just given matchups and stuff like that. But I think that I hate to go 3-1s across the board, except for that phase Subliners one. Again, I feel like LAG could come out with the fire. I feel like maybe they could steal the opening hard point, and then Boston just levels and um, ends up taking things. But I don't know. Maybe I feel like LAG could test them a little bit. I really do. I think even with this new team, Boston has the ability to be dealt with. The thing to keep in mind, while they were on the verge of a great hardpoint streak, were the breach. A lot of that was versus like the Torontos, the Minnesotas, Florida. So it wasn't versus like top caliber rosters. So I think the hardpoint is good. I just don't think that it's elite level. LAG previously have been a good hardpoint team, but without having Gunless, it's hard to have them moving through. It's hard to have them really winning any of these series convincingly, given the fact that they will be having a roster change. So with that in mind, it then sets up elimination round one. These are going to be our first games on Friday, which I'm eager to see. These are the ones that to me are going to decide a lot of roster changes. I think after the major two qualifiers, there is a huge gap. Right, we've got like 2.5, 3 weeks, something like that, where there's a lot of time. There's a lot of time for teams to think about it. It's also the midway point, so it makes it easy to want to make moves or easier to make moves. So with that in mind, we'll start off with our first game: Seattle versus Minnesota. Minnesota, obviously, the labels are there, right? I think I've talked about this a number of different times. We know the issues when it comes down to Minnesota. They had a huge game versus New York where I really thought that this was going to be theirs. I thought, for sure they're going to win that game versus New York. It was a must-win game so they could have the winner's bracket. It doesn't happen. They drop to the Subliners. They lose both of the hard points. They only win the Gavutu in round number 5. But it is their home event. That is something to consider, right? It is their home event. On the other side, we've talked about Seattle. They're going to be off of a loss versus Optic. I think that they will look decent at the very least. So it's a hard call. It really is. I think that Minnesota obviously are going to have the strengths in the search destroy. I think that Seattle, maybe have the advantage in the hard points potentially. They've taken some good game ones versus teams like Optic. They obviously have that Berlin victory versus the Atlanta phase earlier on in the season. They were able to beat a fully healthy LAG team in a hard point. So I do like Seattle to win at least one of the hard points. I like Minnesota to take the first search destroy. The control will be interesting because both teams really not unbelievably great when it comes down to control. But Minnesota have won their last 2 Gavutus. They've won 3 of their last 4 controls. So I'll give the edge to Minnesota. I think Seattle could steal the next hard point. There obviously could be some variation here. But I am going to go with Minnesota to take this in a game five. Again, I like the Seattle team. I feel like they're strong. I just think at your home event, they're going to have some extra motivation. And I feel like the writing's on the wall for what needs to be done with the ROKKR. There's all kinds of rumors of roster changes coming with a number of different teams. ROKKR have been brought up, not necessarily as in like they're going to make one, but that they could be. And so I think this team fights. They dig deep in front of their crowd, and they're able to take that series versus Seattle. I think it's a 3-1 or 3-2. I'll go game five. Give that respect to Surge. We'll move on. Subliners versus the LA Thieves. This is an interesting one. Obviously, Subliners are off of the loss versus Atlanta. LA Thieves, the talk of the town. The talk of the town right now. 0-5. Right. There's been all kinds of talking, or all kinds of discussions about who should be dropped. Whose fault is it? Is it JCap? Is it this player here? Is it this player there? I don't really know. I think it's just a matter of just the team just does not work. It just doesn't work at this moment. It's a weird situation. It's unfortunate, obviously, that they are having the performance that they are, and with that being the case, I think I predicted LA Thieves to go 0-2 in the last week. I predict them to lose this match. I think this team is just not on it right now. I think if New York starts off strong, that could be a problem for the Thieves as well. I think it's a 3-0, 3-1. I'm going to go with 3-0 just to vary up the predictions a little bit. I don't know. I hope that the LA Thieves team shows some life, because if they don't, there's absolutely going to be a roster change with the team. I'll move on. Florida taking on the Paris Legion. Now, this is one of the more interesting matchups just because it's a weird call for Paris. They are off of a W versus Ultra where they really didn't have anything to fight for. You've seen a lot of the tweets coming out from the guys saying that they're motivated, they're hungry, they're ready to work. And in my eyes, Florida are just the most difficult team to predict. A very strange team to try and give an accurate prediction on. It's like if Florida comes out and just gets dominated in the opening hard point, they're going to contest you in the S&D. They're going to contest you in the control. I don't know. They're a great Tuscan control team. We know the maps that they like. They like to play the Tuscans, the Bocages. They like the Berlin S&D. All of those things. So I feel like Paris, you think from a veto perspective, would really be able to hone in on that. The problem being is that, at least recently, it feels like Paris like a lot of the same maps. They like the Tuscan S&D. They like the Tuscan, the Berlin, the Bocage Hardpoint. They're playing a majority of Tuscans lately, so I'm not sure how the coin flips have gone for them. They did most recently lose a 3-0 Tuscan to Toronto, which is something to think about. So I don't know. I feel like this is going to be a really interesting match. But I'm going to choose Florida to win this. I feel like Awakening is just having a great, great season. I feel like they've got that turn up potential in the Search and Destroy. And again, if you face this team on a Tuscan control, you're most likely going to lose it. That's just the way that Florida have played lately. I like the teams who are good at control right now, and I think that I think they're able to secure it. I do. I think they're good to secure it. I think that gives them a slight edge in this series, and for that reason, I'm going to go with Florida. We'll move on. LAG versus Toronto Ultra. LAG, as we mentioned, off the loss versus Breach. Again, without Gunless, maybe the team starts to pick it up a little bit. Maybe Spark starts to feel more comfortable. This would technically be his third series and playing with this team. And then, for the Toronto end, I don't know. It's a difficult situation right now for Ultra. It's just hard. It's hard to talk about the team because you just don't really know where they're fully going to be sitting at. The hard points are obviously the primary discussion point right now for them. What kind of fire they're going to come out with. The control looks great. The S&D, at least early on in series, is great. It's like they're 4-1 in game twos, yet they're 0-3 in game fives. The hard point fundamentals just do not look there right now. But versus a very mixy Gorillas team, there's potential there. There is potential there for a little bit of an upset. But I'm going to roll with the same thing. I'm going to go with a 3-1, possibly. Maybe a 3-2. I'm going to go with 3-2. I'm going to say this isn't actually, yeah, I'm going to go with a 3-2. I don't think it's an easy situation for the Ultra to escape. I feel like LAG give it their best shot. It's just not going to be enough in the end for obvious reasons. It sucks. I feel like LAG are the hottest that they've been right now, but just not gonna work out in their favor. So I guess we'll go and do elimination round 2, Minnesota versus New York. I want to say that we've seen this matchup very recently. Yeah, okay, that's right. That was the last the last matchup that both these teams had at the Major 2 qualifiers. So it's fresh, recently happened. New York was able to take that game. Again, Minnesota are on home soil, so, maybe there's something there. Like I said, in that series, it was a Bocage early victory for New York. They won the Bocage S&D. Minnesota won the Gavutu Control, and the Berlin was taken from New York. Lately, like I said, New York just seems to be on their game right now when it comes to hardpoint. Again, considering that they're playing teams that aren't the top caliber in hardpoint. They're playing Paris's, they're playing Minnesota's, they're playing Toronto's, et cetera, et cetera. But I will say I like New York in this series. I think despite the home crowd right now for Minnesota, I feel like the issues are going to show out once more. I think they take the S&D and then the control. Honestly, I think that they could probably take both. Maybe they win the opening hardpoint. New York wins the S&D and or the control, depending on what it is. But yeah, I'm going to go with New York to win that. Florida versus Toronto. I'm actually running a little bit short on time, so we're going to get this done really quick. Florida versus Toronto. I'm going to go with Florida. I'm going to go with an upset here. I was thinking about this already. I think that Florida kind of give the final remarks to Toronto and what has been a very shaky as of late performance right now from the Ultra. As I said, they get past LAG, but again, I just maybe on land they turn up, and there's a real potential for that. I just think that the teams who have not looked great online, that is going to absolutely translate to the land atmosphere. So I'm going to go with a little bit of an upset here. Go with Florida to take this in a 3-1 fashion. Moving toward the top, Optic versus FaZe. I don't have to tell you about this one. This is the 11th time that these franchises have faced off against each other, if you're including Huntsman in CDL history. They played, obviously, to close out Major 2. It was Prestini instead of Simp. I mean, we could talk about this all day long, but you guys obviously already know the stories with these teams. Optic looks like they have a great map pool right now. FaZe looks like the best hardpoint team in the game, obviously excluding the, weird losses that they have versus Optic. They came out and looked great in the opening Gavutu, which is interesting. Um, I don't know. I'm gonna go with Optic to take this. I think it could also take a little bit for FaZe to really catch their bearings. Now bringing back in Simp. Given the fact that Optic is the higher seed, they can obviously choose if they want to play that Gavutu, which I think is what they honestly want to do versus this team. I think you'd rather play a Gavutu than a Tuscan, especially when you have both, which are absolutely great right now for Texas. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna go with Optic to take this. I don't think this will be FaZe at their strongest in the tournament, but I like Optic there. London versus Boston, another great game, a rematch from Major 2, where it was London who was able to take it. Now it's Boston's chance. Can they get the revenge? And I'm gonna go with no. I really like this London team a lot. I really do. I think that London are to me the team who's gonna come out and have an equally great performance when it comes down to this tournament. I do. I think that Breach are a very, very solid team. There's no doubt about that. But I just really like London right now. I'm gonna have them taking it to Game 5. I think that Boston can sit at the distance. Again, questions on the control, potentially, but I think in terms of just overall gameplay, in terms of teams who are just on it right now, I feel like the Ravens are. I feel like that last win that they had versus Boston gave them a ton of confidence, and I think they roll with that into the winners finals. Moving down to elimination round 3, Boston versus New York. Love this game. Love this rivalry. I hope that Jay and I have this game because it'd be a blast. Um, this is an interesting one to call because again, New York hot right now, right? They get the win versus Thieves, the win versus Minnesota. Can they do it versus Boston? I'm gonna go with yes. I am. I'm gonna go. I like this New York team right now. I know I have them losing in the round 1 game versus FaZe and not really winning a map. Um, which I guess might make that a 3-1. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of untypical for this to happen, but we'll roll with it anyway. I'm going to go with New York to win this. I think that, again, the Subliners are hot right now. I feel like the honeymoon period is absolutely in effect. I'm really excited to watch the AR duel with Paul and Krim versus TJ and Methods. I mean, Methods looks like he is one of his best. He's like one of his best games right now. I'm going to go with New York. I've got Atlanta winning this 3-1. You got to do this quick. I've got FaZe winning this one 3-1. And then I'm going to go with Optic to take this 3-2. No, 3-1. This sucks. 3-1 as well. Got a lot of 3-1s in here. And then in the elimination finals, I'm going to have London getting swept 3-0 with Optic winning in the finals. 5-3. I'm gonna go with 5-3. I feel comfortable with that. I think Optic goes back to back. But yeah, that's gonna do it, guys. I apologize for a very quick, scrappy video. I want these to be better, and I promise that they will be next time. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Um, like I said, apologies for this not being as good as it should be, but if you guys could leave a like, hit the subscribe button, we'd greatly appreciate it. We will have another LandO's lock-ins prepared and ready to go at a much better time. I know this is going to be up for very long, but I appreciate it. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.